There are lots of groups in our society who are affected by the issue with dentistry. One of those groups, who I think it's probably hitting harder than others sometimes, is older people, because many older people are short of dosh. To be honest, there's some quite well-off pensioners, but there's also a big lump of pensioners who are hard up. What's happening to their dental needs?
This crisis, dental crisis in England that we're going through at the moment, does not discriminate between the elderly and the young. It's across the piece. But to pick up on your point about the elderly and those that are retired, who are having issues with either their dentures or their teeth, we are being contacted by retired people. They've served this country, whether through military or through civilian life, since they left school. They're now retired. They've paid into a service, national insurance, the national health insurance, and now they're finding when they need help with their oral health care, with their teeth, they're unable to find anywhere that will help them and serve them.
So there is literally nowhere that people can turn?
No, at the present time, no. Some of the stories that we get in, and I'm contacted on a almost daily basis with 1 or 2, 3 stories a day coming in with people who are really suffering either in pain or suffering in pain and financial hardship because they've got nowhere to turn to. They don't have any transport, for instance. They can't travel the length of the country to find a dentist that actually will take them on. Or they just haven't got the finance available behind them to go private. A lot of people, our inbox has evidence where people are evidencing sacrifices that they're making, and bearing in mind we're now in a cost of living crunch, cost of living crisis. Is it putting food on the table, keeping a roof over your head, keeping your house warm, or is it neglecting your oral health? And with the retired population, they don't want to do any of those things, and rightly so. No one should have to be forced into making a choice as far as that is concerned. And with elderly population having to work longer now, it seems almost every other year the retirement age is going up and up and up, and we've got people working long into their retirement. They still haven't got the means to pay to go private, which of course, it's not cheap, not cheap by any means. And in a lot of them feel, well, why should I have to go and pay? Because I've been paying for 70 years of my life, and
essentially it comes down to the same situation. If you pay an insurance scheme for 60 or 70 years and then that won't pay out, what's the point?
This is it. And it's incredibly frustrating. And for us, when we're reading through this testimony, through emails and direct messages on Facebook or Twitter, it's very upsetting. And you can see the upset that it's causing those people who have chosen to write in. And those are just a small selection of people who have been willing to share their stories. You think of the countless thousands out there who are, suffering in silence, as it were, and suffering they are.
I'm kind of gobsmacked, really, because the question I was going to ask you is where do we go from here? But it doesn't look as if we're going anywhere from here anyway.
With the latest Prime Minister said that he's going to focus on dentistry. Well, words are very easy to come by. We'd obviously, the jury's still out on that, whether or not there's going to be any change whatsoever. But there is a small chink of light, in fact 2 chinks of light, Here in Suffolk, the responsibility for providing NHS dentistry is being moved from National Health England to the local Integrated Care Board.
Right.
So that's Suffolk and North Essex, effectively, Integrated Care Board, who will be taking over that responsibility. And having met with them now, I've met with them twice, we've met with them twice, they're committed to doing things for the people,
Right.
for the patients, and they're very energised, they're very committed. There's a lot of goodwill there that you can see, and that their focus is there on not only providing, healthcare across the counties, but also NHS dental treatment and making it more accessible. There are plans in place, but for us, and we've told them this face to face, that they need to focus on not just the long and medium term issues and challenges, but the immediate here and now, where people are literally suffering right now in pain, in terrible stress, doing awful things for their mental health and well-being by being in continuous pain. They need to get treated as well.
Well, I have to say that I think the thing that's the issue is, it's wonderful that there are people who are genuinely interested and want to do something, but are they going to get the money to do it?
Well, this is one of the things that we'd have to wait and see. There are with lots of operations like this, with the NHS, there's little pots, stacks of money that can be shoveled around and moved about. We're hopeful. We have to remain confident. But I mentioned that there are two little chinks of light. The House of Commons Health and Social Care Committee, last month in December, 8th of December I think it was, they announced the launch of an inquiry into NHS dentistry in England. We are currently putting together a submission to that inquiry, and we're urging people who have suffered, whether it's the elderly or the young and those in between, to write to us with their experiences, whether it's a painful experience, whether it's the fact that they've been chasing their tails trying to get a dentist. But we will be submitting written evidence to them this month, and I'd urge your viewers to write to us, contact Toothless in England, contact me directly with their stories. Once that evidence gets submitted this month, we would hope to get called to submit oral evidence in Parliament, and that will give us a good opportunity, and we're hoping that would happen. We'd get invited, an opportunity to really thrash home the problems that your viewers and others around the country, particularly the elderly, are having with access, and hopefully we can get government to change and wake up to the very real problems, the real crisis in oral health care, because what's happening today has long-term social and health impacts for the future.
For almost everyone. Thank you very much. That's Mark Jones of Toothless in England.